Good morning, y'all. How y'all doing? Oh, come on now. We're get a day off of school, so y'all got to help me out here. I drove all the way from Texas, so help me out. Good morning. How are y'all doing? That's a little better. All right. Hey, as we're watching this is American Ninja Warrior. This is my 6th year competing, and I was really sick with food poisoning for the 12 hours leading up to this run in the national finals. So I finally made it to the national finals and was doing well, and then became extremely sick. I'll spare you the details. But as the announcers are talking, and you can turn the volume a little bit, as the announcers are talking, they're going, wow, how is this possible? This guy was white as a ghost. He was sick. I'm in a hospital for a little bit before this, still going. And there's a time limit counting down, so my friends here that are my sideline supporters kind of cheering me on because they know that this is a big opportunity. They're trying to get me going, but I'm also pretty exhausted and a little dazed and confused. So this is a little bit of the feeling of what it's like to be on Ninja Warrior. Turn it up for us. Get some excitement here. So the clock's ticking. I'm underwater. I'm oblivious. I don't know how much time I have left or what's going on. I can just hear the crowd screaming. That's all I know is happening. Now I see the red lights flashing, and I thought maybe it's over, but I'm going to keep fighting. Let's push. Let's go. And then, come on, y'all can clap, get excited. That's fun, come on, woo! Look, watch my face. I'm like, what happened? Oh my gosh! I don't know what to do. I think right after this, I just kneeled down. I was like, thank you God for this opportunity. And then, they don't show it on camera, but immediately after, there's some excitement. Any sports fans or Ninja Warrior fans here? A little bit, a couple of y'all. Hey, I know it's engineering and science, but I got a few of y'all. All right. Not everyone has to play sports to appreciate some competition. I know most of y'all are competitive. So Ninja Warrior, it's a fun competition. One person against a course, not necessarily against opponents. But that's a little taste of what it looks like. So I hope that y'all enjoyed that, had a little bit of fun with me. And that was a fun victory after many years of rejection of applying for the show. Because it's reality TV, so you have to audition. You don't just go and try out. And then I had plenty of years of getting rejected, finally getting accepted, getting on, doing well, and then breaking my ankle the night before a national finals run. So it's like if your favorite team makes it to the playoffs, and then they get to the second or third round of the playoff, and then they have a major injury and they're taken out. That was my experience on the show. And it wasn't until the 6th year when I made it back to that national final spot, beat another round, and then got here where I was extremely sick. So as I finished that run, I just collapsed. I'm up on this platform, 20 feet in the air, and they're like, Nate, can you come down for an interview, please? And I was laying there going, I can't get up. So they brought like a forklift up, and someone came and kind of carried me down. And that was the end of that season, because I was kind of worthless. So I didn't make it through that final round, which is, do y'all know how much you win if you are on and win American Ninja Warrior? Anyone got a guess for me? Shout out a number. What's the prize money for it? 500,000, that's a good guess. It's close. If you can do math, give me another guess with twice that amount. How about 4 times that amount divided by 2? Give me a number. $2, $1, you're watching The Price is Right? 1 million or 10 million? 10 million, wow. 10 million would be a lot of money. 1 million. $1 million is the prize for winning American Ninja Warrior. Now, I did not collect that prize that year, but I was this close. It was so close. But it was a great experience to get to learn, to push myself out of my comfort zone, challenge and grow. Some of y'all may be wondering, what does this have to do with engineering and science, Dave? You don't have to know. I'll connect those dots in a little bit. But the experience was unlike anything else I've ever done. And at that point in my life, I had been working as an engineer for ExxonMobil, as Dr. Tim said, for about 9 years, which is crazy because, I don't feel like I'm that old. I feel like I just left here a couple years ago. But I have been out of La Tech since 2010. And down this Ninja Warrior journey, I felt like it was time for me to leave the corporate world and continue to pivot, to grow, to transition into something else. And so as I finished this season of Ninja Warrior, but didn't win the $1 million prize, but I also no longer had a job that was paying me, I was like, what am I gonna do next? And out of nowhere, I get a phone call from someone that was kind of like an agent they're like, hey, we saw your international travel. We saw your story on American Ninja Warrior. We want to invite you to audition for this other competition. It's in Spanish on a Latin American TV network. It's down in the Dominican Republic. It's like Survivor. Has anyone ever watched Survivor before? Okay, so y'all know what that show's like. I'm applying for that one right now. I might go on it. But they were like, it's like Survivor and Ninja Warrior, and if you get on, you're gonna spend 3 months locked away without your cell phone, without TV, without internet, without air conditioning. Everyone say, ooh. I know it's cool outside right now, but y'all know what it's like to have some heat in Louisiana. And I was like, well, that sounds terrible. And then they said it paid well. I was like, oh, that sounds better. All right, what's the details? So they fly me down to Miami. Long story short, I get accepted, and I go on this crazy reality TV show that Ninja Warrior is only 2 days. It's 2 days in the spring. If you make it on, you go through the first round and the second round. If you make it through that, you move on to the national finals, which is like 3 days in Las Vegas. That's the run we just watched. Very, very short. You have to train a lot, but very short duration of competition. And it also happens at 2 a.m. in the morning. Anyone want to take a test at 2 a.m. in the morning? I'm sure some of y'all have if you had an online test in the COVID era and you procrastinated like I do at times. You may have taken something late, but normally we don't perform very well at 2 a.m. But that's how Ninja Warrior works, because it's outdoors. They film it at night because they want the lights to look pretty cool. So I had that experience there. Well, I get this chance to go and compete in the Dominican Republic. And Dr. Timms has a little video queued up. We'll play it for just a second so you kind of get an idea of, this is the competition side of it. They don't show the reality TV where we're staying in a shack in the woods at night. But this is kind of like one of the 25 courses we would race on every day. We're competing for a prize. This prize is for a brand new SUV. So the winner of this match is gonna win a new SUV. And so right now, we have 100 different combinations of some kind of throwing, shooting, obstacle course, solving a problem. So right now I'm trying to make these 3 poles land horizontally on this frame. And then I'm gonna follow up and shoot this other ball, trying to make it go through this curved ramp into this net. So I get the win there. I'm pointing at my buddy because I thought that would qualify him to win the vehicle. You can play it for another second, and I think that's good. Yeah, that's good, that's good. All right, so this is a little sample of what that competition looked like daily. And it was fun. It was rough. My teammates were all Hispanic, so they all spoke Spanish. And if you could tell, I'm the gringo, so I didn't quite know Spanish. Antes 2020 no hablo español, pero ahora yo tengo mucho más palabras de español. So I got to study and talk Spanish with my teammates. And first it was like, ¿cómo se dice? How do you say this? And they'd say, what are these? Zapatos? Zapatos, thank you. I'm still learning. So I just ask questions like that. What's great about being an engineer or being someone in the technical skill sets, engineering and science, is we learn how to, one, just be curious. Ask questions. I'm always asking questions. Does anyone here get criticized a little bit for asking too many questions? Got a few of y'all, you're growing up, you're like, stop asking so many questions. Asking questions is great. I ask questions all the time. I'm a lifetime learner. And the foundation I got from being here at Louisiana Tech helped me to ask better questions. It helped me to problem solve, to analyze, to think critically. And then it helped me to network, to develop leadership skills, enjoy what it's like to work in groups and have teammates. And all those things throughout my regular career, if you want to call that. When I was y'all's age, I had no idea what a career was. I didn't know what working for a company was. I was a little kid from South Louisiana, grew up here in Simsboro, Ruston area, then moved to South Louisiana for junior high and high school, down near Eunice. Have y'all heard of Eunice before? A few of y'all. Near Lafayette, is that a little better? Alexandria, Lafayette. I saw some students from Pineville here. Where's my Pineville students at? Anyone further south than Pineville? What do we got? Shout out another city. Pine Prairie. It's not much further south, but it's further south, right? Cool. Well, I had this kind of country boy mentality and perspective. I worked on some farms, and I worked for a couple of youth camps, and eventually made my way to engineering here at Louisiana Tech because I was pretty terrible at English. Wasn't that great there. I wasn't much of an athlete back in high school. I liked sports and competition. I liked watching them. I did a little bit of music. We didn't have theater where I came from. So I was like, well, at school, I'm better at math and science than I am at English and literature, because I can't even write. And that's the countryside of me. So I was like, well, what am I gonna do? And I came to, I believe it was an engineering and science day back my senior year of high school. And I saw this university and I was like, wow, this is a pretty cool place. And I met some people that I was impressed by their life and what they had done and what they were doing. And they were like, you could come here and get a great education, a great foundation, make some great experiences. I was like, oh, okay. And then one day you can get a great job. I was like, okay, I don't know what that looks like, but sounds better than the farm I worked on. And as I came through this process, I really found the value of what it was like to, one, pursue something that was challenging. Because most of us, a lot of y'all are smart. You know, you're in this path in the high school life and you have good intellect. You might be a little bit like me, and sometimes you need a good challenge to get you going. Something to inspire or encourage or excite you. And if school is boring, then you kind of sit back and you do the minimum amount and you kind of plod along. But I've learned when I sign myself up for a challenge, you know, sometimes a short-term thing, I want to do it next week. Sometimes it's a bigger goal, like pursuing a degree at a university. It's a big challenge. And I've learned I want to go for the biggest challenge that I can reasonably accomplish. I don't want to set the bar so low that it makes me bored. You ever done something that's just kind of boring and you're like, you don't really try and you procrastinate, and then last minute you show up and you finish it? I like the thought of something that's a little bit bigger, that's going to challenge me, that's going to be exciting, something that I'm going to go for, something that I'm not even sure I can fully do. And that's what American Ninja Warrior was. It was a big step towards taking a risk, getting out of my comfort zone, trying something new, and going for it, being willing to fail, right? Has anyone gone for something that they failed in? I won't call on you, but I need a little bit of perspective. So has anyone tried something that they failed in? Everyone should raise their hands. Come on, help me out. There we go. Has anyone seen something they really wanted to go for, but they didn't do it? Okay. You thinking of something specific? All right, now, have you looked back? Are you looking back right now and regretting not doing that? Yes, no, maybe. A few of y'all, thank you back there. I remember looking back at a lot of things in high school that I regretted not trying. I was so afraid of failure in the moment. I was afraid of being embarrassed. I was afraid of rejection. What if I told that girl I liked her? She's like, ew. Which happened before. What if that happens? What if I go for it? What if I try in school in a degree and I don't make it? I'd rather have the pain of failure than the pain of regret. So that's one of the things I want to spark in y'all's mind is the cool things that I've gotten to do that are now public, the international travel, which I didn't care about traveling outside of the state when I was y'all's age. I was like, man, leave Louisiana? Why? It's great here. Does that sound familiar? No? You're right, there's cool places out there. So as I got out of college, as I was graduating, I went on a mission trip with a friend of mine here. His name was Dr. Jake Wood. He was one of the team doctors, and he did a mission trip to the Dominican Republic every year. And I was like, you know, I've never left the state other than visiting my grandparents in Alabama. I'd love to go on that trip and see what I can do to learn, to help, to experience something new, see new culture. So I said yes to this trip, went down there and got to help in this medical mission, outreach. And it was a really cool experience, and it opened my eyes to say, wow, there's so much more than the small town, the small experiences that I've seen and had. And as I moved into the corporate world, I got to work for a company called ExxonMobil, which someone says, oh, you work at ExxonMobil? Yeah, I get my gas there. Which station do you work at? I was like, well, it didn't work exactly like that, but I guess that makes sense, So as I started working for ExxonMobil over in Houston, Texas, and then eventually that led me to getting new opportunities where a manager would say, hey, you're one of the younger guys here, you're still single, are you willing to go work at a remote part of Northern California? No one else wants to do that. No one wants to go take that role. And I was thinking, if I look at this through, is that going to be fun by itself, just measuring it on its own, is that going to be a great experience? Probably not, with the remote part that they wanted to send me. But if I look at it through an opportunity,
maybe this is a place where I can grow and develop, see and experience something new, get to solve a problem that no one else wants to solve. And at worst, maybe it's a failure, but failures are just awesome learning experiences. So I said failures, maybe they're just awesome learning experiences. So I want to remind you all of that point, because there's a lot of things that you may be afraid to try that could be an incredible learning opportunity that you grow and develop from. So as I said yes to some of those opportunities, it opened the door for me to go from a place that wasn't that cool to then my manager going, hey, you did a good job over there, thanks for showing up. I got another spot for you. Everyone wants this role. Would you like to take it? I was like, sure, where? He said, Santa Barbara, California, which is a beautiful beach, incredible place, one of the nicest spots in California. They're like, we can send you there to go work for the next year. I was like, sign me up. And then guess what, everyone, all my coworkers, guess what they did? It's not rhetorical. You gotta guess what my coworkers who wanted that job said. You gotta guess for me? Not fair. That's exactly right. Thank you for speaking up. Y'all give a hand to my man over here, being willing to say, thank y'all. I know you don't like the attention, but I appreciate you being willing to speak up. So my coworkers were like, that's not fair. How come you get to go there? I want that job. I want to get that opportunity. And I didn't have to say anything. My manager in the meeting said, hey, how many of y'all wanted to go to this place I sent Nate last year? And everyone went, I didn't want to do that. They're like, but who went? He said, Nate went. So you think it's not fair now that I get to assign Nate to a place that all of y'all want to do because he was willing to do something none of you were willing to do? And they all kind of went, oh, yeah, I guess so. They kind of mumbled. But the point I want to remind y'all of is if you're willing to look at something as an opportunity, not as punishment, it can lead to something better that you never imagined. And that was the path of engineering for me. When I chose to come to Louisiana Tech to be a part of the engineering and science curriculum, the STEM curriculum, it was the best path forward I saw at the moment, but I knew it was going to be a challenge. I wasn't sure what school life would be like. But as I got here to this university, wow, I began to come alive because I realized I want to live a life that's balanced. I don't want to just be focused on one specific thing, like a degree. I also want to develop myself socially. And I was homeschooled a bit when I was in junior high and elementary school. Anyone ever homeschooled here? Am I the only one? We got a couple back here, a few of y'all. Are you back in public school now? Or are y'all still homeschooled? Still homeschooled? Okay, cool. Glad y'all got to come here for this. Well, when I had some of that homeschooling experience, I didn't get the social interaction that most normal high school students get. That's why I'm a little awkward at times, but it's okay. That was a joke. It's a joke. So, thank you, there we go. Help me out. I'm not a comedian, I like that. So, I realized this is a great place to develop some new friendships, to step out of my comfort zone from the friend group I had back in high school, to try some new things. And this is a place that prepared me not only in a degree, learning and growing in that, learning from professors like Dr. Timms, who I was intimidated by at first. So I'm like, man, those guys, those girls, they're so smart. They're way smarter than me. I don't want to act like I'm dumb, so I shouldn't ask questions, because if I ask a question, maybe it'll make me look dumber. Anyone ever had that thought? You can nod your head. I won't make you raise your hand, but yeah, I've had that thought before. I've learned when I'm talking to people younger than me, sometimes they're afraid to ask a question, and when they do ask a question that they think is dumb, I always acknowledge and appreciate the risk it takes to ask that. And then most of the time, what happens with your peers, the people next to you, when you ask a question? They start asking questions too. What else did you think? That's what you're gonna say? That's right, they start asking questions, and what else happens? Usually, when you ask a question, everyone else goes, oh yeah, I had that question too. You know, we're all pretty similar, so when you speak out and you're willing to ask that question, when you're willing to take that step, that risk, you realize that, wow, everyone else is kind of thinking the same thing as well. So that's the reminder of taking that step. So as I got to experience new things at Louisiana Tech, it really began developing me, not just in a technical degree, but also in my social skills, in my ability to play some of the intramural sports that the school offered. And I heard that there's a ping pong table. Isn't there, Dr. Timms, there's a ping pong table in the engineering building now? Anyone ping pong players or fans out here? Hey, there's a way to develop. There we go. We got there's some competitors now. I want to challenge somebody to a game later. If we got the table, I don't think we have a table set up, do we? So, there we go. I see you. All right, y'all come find me after. I'm going to be hanging out today. But what I was trying to say is I got to develop myself a bit, and that's what I want y'all to think about, a bigger perspective. Not just what are you going to do if you go to college. If you do go to college, what degree do you want to pursue? But then don't get lost and focus on just pursuing that degree. There's friendships you get to make, there's experiences you get to have, there's groups and organizations you can plug into, and all those things help develop me. And as I got into this career, I learned and grew through that. And as I developed there, I started sensing, hey, there's other things that I want to try in life that I want to go for. And eventually, that's what led me to Ninja Warrior and a few other things. That's what led me to being on a stage speaking. I remember being at my first assembly at La Tech. I was sitting over here somewhere in y'all's area, and some student leader got up and spoke. And I remember being so afraid for that person. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're on stage. That makes me so nervous. I would never talk in front of people. It just terrifies me. And now I've learned to overcome that fear and to step up and to be able to share my thoughts and express some of my feelings and share experiences because I've learned how to overcome that fear. And it all starts at a small level. It starts at the simple place of asking the question, of being willing to take a risk, to step out more and more. And when I was faced with the opportunity of Ninja Warrior, I saw that, Dr. Timms, we didn't show the video, we don't have it. There's one epic failure video I've got on Ninja Warrior where I had a massive flop, backflip, crash, get out of the water and crying, literally crying. And I was bummed and disappointed. And I knew that if I ever went for the opportunity of Ninja Warrior, there's a chance that I fail, that I get rejected, that I don't succeed, and I feel embarrassed. But I remember that thing I told y'all at the beginning of this. I'd rather live with the pain of failure than the pain of what? Regret. And so I went for it. And I experienced some of that rejection and failure, but ultimately, as I kept persevering, overcoming obstacles, listening to that kind of voice inside that was saying, hey, keep going, don't give up, I eventually got to experience something that was really cool. And that all came from the foundation I laid in high school and into college here at Louisiana Tech, and then on to the next place. So as I get to progress in this life and try new experiences, grow my skill set, I hope that it sparks a thought in y'all. One, that this is a great place to be. So I'm not here to recruit you per se, but I do want you to know that I had a lot of friends that went to LSU, a lot of friends that went to Texas A&M, a lot of friends that left the state or went to another university. And me, my sisters, a few of my friends, we chose to come here. And it was an incredible experience because it's a place that's not too big, it's not too small. So you don't get lost in the crowd, you see some people you know, but you also get to experience new things. And it was a great foundation for me that's kind of led the way to the next thing that I've gotten to do. So, Dr. Timms, what's our time right now? Before we close out, I wanted to maybe open it up for a little bit of a Q&A, because I wanted to think, like, what's in y'all's mind? What's some things that I can, give you a perspective on? What's something that might be interesting? Why'd I go to Tech? Hey, great question. I mean, all of y'all are here because you've heard about Louisiana Tech, you've been invited, maybe you have a sibling, maybe you saw a certain sports figure go through here. When I was a kid, I lived over in Simsboro, the borough, kind of in between Simsboro and Grambling. So I'd come into Ruston every once in a while, so I saw this place as a kid. Then I moved away, and as I was thinking about where do I want to go to school, there's a few things that were going through my mind. One was, I'm from a pretty poor family, so we don't have money for extra things. My parents were like, hey, I can't afford to send you to college, so if you want to go to college, it's on you. And I'd heard in Louisiana that they had the TOPS program. Does TOPS still exist? Yeah. Okay. And that they had some standards for that. Hey, if you hit a certain GPA and a certain ACT score, we'll cover all or most of your college tuition in-state. I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then I thought about, what's a good value for my time and for my money? And I started researching a little bit, and I found out that Louisiana Tech was an excellent place for the price that you pay. You get a great product. And as I graduated and went to work at what was one time the #1 company in the world, ExxonMobil, I was working with people that were from Harvard and Princeton and LSU and Texas A&M, all these more prestigious universities. And they were like, how'd you get here from this smaller school that we haven't heard of? I was like, it's a great school. And guess how much my degree costs compared to how much yours cost? And so the value of what this school gives is on the same level as these other larger universities, but it's a much smaller home feel. And so when I was thinking about schools, I was checking in LSU and a few others. I came here on a visit, and I drove up from down south, came up 167 or something like that, Highway 167, 65. I drove into here, and it just felt like, wow, this is a good place. This kind of feels like home. As I checked it out and asked some questions, I was like, I think this is the place that, in my mind, I can analyze and decide it's a good place to be, and then it just felt right in my heart, in my spirit, so I said yes to this, and it turns out to be an amazing decision, not only with my experiences here, but then the foundation it gave. And I meet alumni from around the world. I live in Texas now, and I meet people from La Tech all the time, so I'm always representing the dogs. Good question. All right, we're gonna close out, Dr. Timms? Are you gonna?
He did not ask me to do this, but look, I'll first off thank you for being here today. We're gonna break a little bit, Brayden, and then we're gonna come back up here and allow y'all to kind of go and start to see some of what Nate referred to, some of the things that piqued his interest, and so we hope that does the same for you. I did throw his Instagram up here. I was gonna joke with him about it. You know, in my case, when people follow me on Instagram, I'm like, ooh, I picked up a follower today. He doesn't even show up. Okay, so feel free. It won't even show in the point decimal places, but feel free if you want to follow him. I think he is a great example of the type of student that we produce here at Louisiana Tech, and ultimately go out there and do amazing things. And so we're appreciative of him. We're appreciative of him being here. And so thank you for taking the time to come over and speak to all the students here today. So thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Timms. Thank y'all. It's an honor to be with you today. Thanks for having fun with me. I hope you learned a few things. Thank you for your questions. Thanks for engaging. I hope you learned a few pieces that you'll take away. Ask a lot of questions today. If you want to follow me on social media, come join in. DM me if you got a question that I didn't answer, or you can explain one of the questions I didn't understand. And you can follow me on YouTube. I do more content there. I'm getting into that world, so come join the adventure and be a part of this journey. Thank y'all. Keep taking steps of faith and risk. God bless.